Hello and welcome to the Strong Friend podcast with Jack and Lewis. Today we talk about our biggest regrets. We talk about what we did to get over them and how we feel about them now. If you know someone who's struggling with regret, with feeling like they can't get over something, try sending this to them and maybe it can help them out. Now let's get into the video. He asked Joey, they're like doing a quiz and he's like, oh, what's white? And he goes,
yes, I've seen it. Yeah,
he goes,
yeah.
Paper, snow, a ghost.
Yeah, because he has like a partner, doesn't he, and stuff.
Yeah.
Fucking hell, man. But
So apart from watching Friends, mate, how's your lockdown been?
it's been an adjustment period involved, man. So not having the gym there, I just end up losing my routine really fast. You know what I mean? Those really hard weight training workouts you can no longer do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's been difficult for me. But apart from that, I think, I've been doing a lot better than the last time because I've sort of known what to expect. I knew going into this lockdown the kind of workouts that I'd be doing, like the YouTube HIIT workouts and the resistance bands workouts. So I just accepted it because it's out of my control. But yeah, the first week's been pretty good.
How's your diet been? Compared to lockdown 1?
Compared to lockdown 1, mate, it's been bloody pristine. It's been amazing. Yeah. Probably been indulging in. So I'm dieting now at the moment with the coach that I've got, 2,600 calories, which I've been sticking to mostly. But I'd say there's been a few days where I've had like maybe an extra 200-300 calories here or there, like with chocolate or something.
Yeah.
But I think that's just the nature of when you're sitting at home, you end up getting bored, don't you, after a while. And
Yeah.
you've got to get those workouts in, man, otherwise. And I know that, do you know what I mean? I know that, so.
I've started doing 2 workouts a day now. I say 2 workouts a day.
Yeah.
So I'm getting up at 5 a.m. and I'm doing my home workout at 5 a.m. this time because that's what I stopped doing last time and I regretted it. This time I'm getting up at 5 a.m., getting to the living room and doing my weight workout. So I've got a 20 kilo kettlebell, I've got an 8 kilo kettlebell and some resistance bands, and I'll do a weight style workout.
Yeah.
Then I'll go to work or I'll have like my day, and then at about 7 o'clock I'll do half an hour skipping.
Yeah, that's good for you though, man. I love skipping.
Very
I
good
do.
for
And
you.
you only
It's
need
very
a
good
small
for
little
you.
space, don't you, as well? You got one of those speed ropes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So I prefer skipping than running. For me,
Yeah,
I just hate running.
Yeah, I do. It's
Technically,
horrible.
it's probably just as bad on your joints.
Yeah, I know, but thing is,
But
if you're running and you're like 5 kilometres from your house, you've got to run back, ain't you? But if you're skipping,
you just step back inside.
yeah. Mate, I remember I used to get up like when I was like 12, 13 at like 5 a.m. and I'd do a lot of skipping because I was always obsessed with kickboxing. I do a lot of skipping. I do a little bit of road running, like interval training and stuff, and squats and stretches. But mate, skipping, I love skipping. I used to watch like the Floyd Mayweather skipping videos.
Yeah.
And then I try to do it like him, and then I'd get into a good flow, and then I'd end up whipping my leg. I was like, oh! Used to knacker. Used to just chuck the skipping rope with rage and just walk back in the house like, fuck this. But no, man, I think it's important.
Skipping's one of them skills though that you never forget how to skip.
Nah, it's
I
like riding
reckon
a bike.
if you were good at it, I reckon you could just pick it back up again.
Yeah. Mate, I've seen some of the boxers that are ace at it. Mayweather and Amir Khan's really good at skipping as well. It's just some of but Mayweather's, the way that some of the skills that he can do with a rope is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Absolute madness, man. But yeah, it's been one of them, man. I think we all knew what was coming up, didn't we, with this winter lockdown, but you've just got to adjust quickly, haven't you? And
yeah, and now we've got to get ready for lockdown 3.
I think you've just got to, yeah, that's what well, we don't know how long it's going to last, do we? But
Yeah.
I think you've just got to have the attitude of no excuses, like, even though you're at home.
I like that.
It is though, isn't it?
Yeah,
Ultimately, I understand that, like, it's fucking hard to work out at home because you associate it with relaxing. It's crap. Also, not to be able to do those heavy presses, like the heavy shoulder press, heavy bloody bench press. I love those kind of things, but I can't let that deter me from working out at all. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
yeah, it's YouTube workouts, man, for me. Yeah.
So this week's topic is regret, and I know that was a brilliant segue. So
yeah.
so so what I want to speak about is when we were at a period where regret was a real and very big emotion, because I feel like as you get older, regret turns into more of a learning, and you don't feel regretful. You feel like you've learned from the situation. But starting from the beginning, what's one of your biggest regrets that you felt during a certain time?
I think it was when I was about 20 and I was going out all the time and having a laugh and all the rest of it, as 20-year-olds do. But I think my regret at that time was worrying about what people thought way too much.
Yeah.
So I was so concerned with self-image, and I'd always have to make sure, I need to make sure I'm shredded before I go out. I need to make sure that all these different things are in check. And then even then I felt self-conscious. And looking back, man, it was one of those where those kind of situations you're meant to be happy in. So I suppose I kind of regret not being fully present and fully happy in those situations. Does that make sense?
That's a very good way to word it, man. Not being present.
Yeah, 'cause it's annoying when you look back and you think, oh well, I was having a really good time. Like, have you ever looked at any photos of yourself where, yeah, you had a good time, but you think, oh, I remember my mindset at the time, and that day I was proper stuck in my head and all that kind of stuff, and it gets you down a little bit because you think, well, but it's the nature of life, man. But what about yourself? Like, would you say it was when you were younger as well, like me, or?
Yeah, so I'd say one of my biggest regrets is actually a topic that's got a lot of stigma around it.
Yeah.
And it's when I was, how old would I have been? About 14, 15.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the first time that I did self-harm.
Right, okay.
And I regretted it at the time so much because it felt like it was opening a gateway. So it felt like once I did it once, it was one of them where you almost feel like you need to get that rush back again. It's funny actually, because this has just popped into my head. I wrote something a few years after.
Yeah.
Looking back on it, and I worded it as, I think when you self-harm, the adrenaline and the fight or flight mode and the rush that you get, for me, pulled me out of my over-analytical brain. So when I was at like my most depressed or my most anxious, I'd always be, the rational mind would take over way too much, and I'd be trying to rationalize everything. That irrational moment of self-harm was one thing that took me out of that. Yeah. And that was probably my biggest regret. And what I used to do was get a lighter and just set my ankles alight. Not literally alight, but hold the lighter to my ankles.
Yeah.
And I think it took that was probably my hardest one to get over, I'd say.
Yeah.
Because I think with regret, the hardest thing to do is forgive yourself.
Yeah.
And
not going back to not keep going back to it and replaying it in your mind. But you've got, what I take from what you've just said though is you doing that. Like, obviously now you don't regret it anymore because you had to do that in order to sort of develop the coping mechanisms that you've got today. And I very much feel the same way. Like, as I've said before, like, I really regret being dissociated and depersonalized and feeding so much into it for like 2-3 years. You know what I mean? Because like I remember when I got engaged, and one of the things that dissociation does is it makes like everything look like a dream world around you. So it's quite a it's like it's supposed to be an amazing time, and it was an amazing time getting engaged. I loved it. Do you know what I mean? But I remember like the high I got from that. It took me out of that dissociation for just a few minutes, and then we went to and then so I completely forgot about it. And then one thing I regret though is I was at the bar, because what happened was we did that and then we went to a bar after to celebrate, and I was standing in this bar at the bar, and all I could think of was, oh, that table looks really weird. It looks wonky. I don't know. It sounds crazy, but when you've been through dissociation, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So I've just got engaged and I'm sitting here worrying about a fucking why does the ball look like it's on a slant, and that's all I could think about. And because of that, it was pissing me off more, because I was sitting here thinking, you've just got engaged and now you're sitting here looking at the bar thinking that it looks slanted. But at the time it really freaked me out, and like I hate to call myself this, but when I look back to that guy, like, he thought he was going to be stuck forever. He was a fucking idiot. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's not true at all. So I regret feeding into those emotions so much. But now I realise it's what's led me to peace and where I am today. So there's regret, but there's also the other side of it, isn't there? Where you're like, well, it needed to happen in order for me to flourish the way that I have. And I think exactly what you said is the same thing.
How do you think you got from... How did you get from the Lewis that regretted feeling like that to the Lewis now, which is the very... a person who can... Because even as you're talking about it, we can look back on it now.
Yeah.
And it's easy for us to say, oh, yes, well, we learnt this from that situation. But how did you develop that mindset? How did you do it?
It was over time. It was as I discovered more and more coping mechanisms, I gradually started to feel more and more like myself again. And I think when I started feeling like myself again, like my true self, that's when I became a lot more rational. And I started to let go when I was doing meditating. You know, I was having meditation periods where I was getting upset in the meditations and just releasing it all, man, and just realising that I can't change it. And I think meditation
was your first... I was just about to say, do you think meditation was your first mindfulness, that first step?
Yeah, it was. I downloaded the Calm app, and it helped me out, because it was before I knew anything about like calming the body and all that kind of stuff. But mindfulness does that anyway. Like, and when you're meditating, you get so many like random thoughts that just pop up into your mind, and you start thinking them, and then you start, if you stick with the practice, you start letting go. So I really and I was meditating like every day, you know what I mean? I was making it a ritual, and I still meditate today. And I just think, mate, it really, really helped me let go of a lot of stuff. What about yourself?
Mate, that's very interesting, because I think the first time, because I'd describe it as I used to run from everything.
Yeah.
So because of how dark my thoughts were, and because of how overwhelmingly sadistic I felt my thoughts were, I used to always run from it, and I always used to think, I shouldn't feel this way, I shouldn't feel like that, blah, blah. When I started meditation, it's the exact same. When I started to meditate and truly reflect and to actually sit with your thoughts and to be calm and sit with them and actually try and understand your thoughts, that's when I was, for me, the first time where I was actually able to give myself a bit of a break. Yeah. And just say to myself, it's okay. It's okay to feel the way that you're feeling, but let's work on this. Let's try and move forward rather than trying to run from the.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's so. I think it's interesting that both of us are at the position we are now, both from starting through meditation, that mindfulness, and that reflection on where you've been. Yeah,
I'm dead excited to talk about this, because we haven't spoken about it before. But I think with meditation, initially, like, you reject it because you're like, I don't need to meditate, I'm fine and all that. And then when you start meditating, you realise just how much junk you've been, like, keeping in your mind for however, God knows how long. And like I say, that's why when I was meditating, when I first started meditating, I'd have just sessions where I'd end up, like, breaking down and crying, but it was necessary because it allows you to release. And when you calm yourself and then you get that thought, and with meditation, it's all about, like, loving kindness and all that kind of stuff. And I always listen to, like, guided meditations.
Same.
So, mate, the guided meditations are unbelievable. Like, I've always said that you should use guided meditations because they help to guide that thought, and you can just make peace with it. I honestly, like, when you meditate, sometimes you get random thoughts or thoughts that you've been suppressing and they come out. And when they come out, mate, it's good. Do you know what I mean? It's a great way to, because, like, when you think, like, when people get drunk and they've not meditated, they've not worked on themselves, and then they end up bloody fighting with someone else, don't they? And I've always thought, like, they're not fighting with that other person, they're fighting with themselves. They're fighting with whatever's coming out and that's pissing them off.
I agree with you more. I couldn't.
Yeah.
Hey, I've always said this.
Yeah.
I've always said that the people who get most aggressive, or the people who get most who flip out when they're drunk, are the people who are suppressing the most inner chaos.
Yeah.
Because the moment that I'm so glad you said that, because the moment that you drink, imagine you live your life with these barriers. You're in a castle, right, and you've got these barriers outside, and that's your day-to-day mind and your rational brain.
Yeah.
As you drink alcohol, you are lowering the walls outside. And then all of these soldiers that are trying to get in, which are all your thoughts, they just come pouring in.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's what meditation does is essentially the same thing, but you are lowering the gates yourself and at your speed, whereas alcohol does it for you.
Yeah, so
you're not ready for that.
Yeah, so I think if you're going to have a good alcohol experience, if you've already worked on yourself and you've already meditated, because nothing's going to come up that you haven't already dealt with, if you know what I mean.
You've already seen the army, you've already let them in.
Well, I bring that up because when I was younger, I remember, like, because I think, like, back in the early 2000s, like, it was normal for, like, kids to be in pubs and stuff. And I always remember, like, it was though, wasn't it? Do you know what I mean? Like, you all used to run around and all that kind of stuff. But I remember, like, occasionally, like, feeling a little bit scared when I saw, like, men getting, like, fucking angry. Do you know what I mean? And, and I used to see it and think, like, oh, what's up with this person or whatever. And I think as a kid, like, it used to. There was something you can just see it in someone's eyes, like, if they like, do you know what I mean? If they're pissed off about something or whatever. And I saw, like I say, I saw that when I was young a lot, and I think alcohol's great and stuff for, like, letting loose. But I think, like you say, there's times like that where if you haven't dealt with something, it can really bite you in the arse. You know what I mean? And it's happened to all of us. I've had times where I've been drunk and I've ended up, like, breaking down over, like, my sister and stuff, like, when it first happened, and I hadn't really dealt with it properly. And
I think if you find yourself breaking down with alcohol, if you find yourself being overwhelmed with emotion, if you're the kind of guy who starts fights, if you're the kind of guy that or girl who really gets aggressive, gets projects, that's the word I'm looking for. You need to meditate, because I think you will benefit from it most, because you need to guide them walls down rather than just letting alcohol do it for you. And you need to see, okay, when I let my guard down and when I actually sit with my thoughts, what am I afraid of? What is it? What is it that's outside these walls that I'm so scared of letting in?
Yeah, well, like I say, I think we spoke about it before about, like, the schools not teaching people coping mechanisms, so that when we get older, if we've got issues and we want to, like, relieve some stress. Everyone just goes out and gets smashed, don't they? And I used to work in a nightclub, and there was fights every single weekend.
Yeah.
There's a reason why there was fights. It's not
Makes
because
sense.
it's not because the people were feeling peaceful. You know what I mean? It's probably because they were.
Because people were comfortable with themselves.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, which it's the harsh reality. It's true though, isn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, man, it's just and I think it's especially important as well with lockdown that if you're sitting in and having a drink for one night, rather than do that, just try meditating. But just try and stay with the practice. Don't just do it for 2 minutes and then think, oh no, I'm not going to do
No,
it.
this isn't working.
Yeah, you can't do that, can you? Like, you can't
That's why
do
I
that.
think guided meditation is if you're gonna start with guided meditation.
Yeah, because when you get all those intrusive thoughts, the guided meditations will say, "Oh, if your mind's going away from the practice," and then I'm like, "You're explaining exactly
you're
what's
reading
going
my
on."
mind.
Yeah, man. I'm really glad we've established that because, yeah, man, meditation in terms of letting those regrets and intrusive thoughts go is pivotal, man. It's amazing stuff.
So what did that? So with meditation, how did that? So that's the first step. Let's say that's the first gateway.
Yeah.
What did it teach you, and how did you start to use what you learnt from meditation in day-to-day life? Like, how did you get to a point where you can just use it now?
Yeah.
Without thinking.
The first thing it taught me, the first skill I ever learnt from meditation was how to be present, and I don't think I ever learnt how to do that before. And
so, just before you carry on,
yeah,
explain the concept of being present. Explain what that means for you.
Yeah.
And just talk us through it, because there'll be some people listening to this who just don't know what that means and what that phrase actually means.
So for me, it feels like being able to express myself in a way where I'm not stuck in my head. It sort of just comes out. So if you're listening to a beautiful song and you're stuck in like, and you're just flowing with it, do you know what I mean? You ever been to a concert and you're just flowing with the music, man, and just you're not thinking about anything else? It's about, for me, it's about being in the room and not being in your head, because you can physically be in a room full of people, but you ain't really there. Do you know what I mean?
So true.
Or not? Yeah,
So true.
you can be in however many different miles away in your mind. So I think it's about seeing all these objects around you and sort of feeling connected to everything. It's about that feeling of connection. And if you're not present, you can't have a meaningful conversation with people. You can't, because you're too worried about what you're going to say, or what's you're worrying about the thoughts that you've got going on. And
Have you ever read something and you've had to read it again?
Yeah, I have.
Because you're just not present, because you're not concentrating on what's in front of you, or you've watched something and you've been like, oh, I have to rewind that and watch that again, or you've walked somewhere and you can't even remember how the fuck you've got to where you're standing right now.
Yeah. I think
that is what Lou's talking about. That is exactly what Lou's talking about.
Everyone does it, mate. Like,
everyone.
We've all got distractions and stuff, but I think you know when you're truly present, because it's just it's a feeling of peace. That's all I can describe it as. There's not really a word in the dictionary that can truly describe what being present is, but when you are present, you'll know about it, because it's just pure bliss and pure peace.
You notice colours. It feels like you notice colours. You hear sounds, and it sounds so stupid, but it's. If you've ever experienced before, you'll know what I'm talking about. You feel like you can hear things clearer. You feel like you can see things better. Yeah. And emotions feel stronger.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's because you're not stuck in the future, you're not stuck in the past, you're in the now. Whatever you're experiencing all of it. Like Jack said, sounds for me was a massive one in vision, and just
colour was mine.
It's beautiful, man, because you realise how nice the world is. It's like, if you go into a bar with all your mates and you're all sitting there on your phones, you ain't in the present moment, man. You know? Do Do you know what I mean? Because then again, you've had those times where we've all been out and we've been smashed and everyone's talking and chatting, and that's when you're in the present moment.
Yeah.
And then I'll sometimes, like, that'll be going on, and in my head I'm thinking, like, when we were in Dublin, I was like, fucking hell, this is mint. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm like, I really, really want to savour this memory because I'm having an amazing time. And sometimes with the present moment, when you anticipate it as opposed to how it actually happens, it's so much better when it actually happens. Like, it's always better than what you anticipate, if that makes sense as well. Like, it's like almost euphoric, man. It's just...
Mate, it is.
Yeah,
It
it
is.
really is.
I encourage anyone who's listening to this to look at how to be present. Look at how you can be present. So, once you just established how to be present, what did that teach you? Talk me through the next, because I interrupted you. So.
No, it's fine, mate. I think it's about, once I became present, I was able to notice things more. I was able to have, like I say, more meaningful conversations. I was able to look people in the eye and say what I really wanted to say. It wasn't like I was speaking to you, but in here I'm thinking about this, that, or the other. So it's kind of like when you're in the present, life just takes over, man, and it just flows naturally. I can't really explain it much more than that. Like, all I can say is learn how to become present through meditation, and then you can use that skill anywhere. Like, you can end up, it doesn't take you, like, say if you're in a situation, like a social situation, you're able to replicate that feeling of being present like that, can't you?
Yeah.
With enough practice. And once you do that, the suffering ends, the fun times begin, and you're not stuck in your own shit, basically, and you start to process stuff as well when you're present. And
Yeah, so I was just about to say, so how did that help you process the regret? How did that help with that stage of, how did being in the now help you process being in the past?
because I realised that everything's just okay the way that it is.
Yeah.
Like, I'm here right now on this podcast.
Life's still beautiful.
Yeah, life's beautiful, and like I'm okay. I'm okay, physically, mentally, spiritually.
Yeah.
Like, right now, I am okay. And if you can just carry that moment by moment, you realise that actually I'm always okay.
Yeah.
And then you start to have some kind of overwhelming enlightenment, in a good overwhelming, where you're just like, yeah, like, I can relax now because everything's fine. And that's the whole premise of what I was going through 4 or 5 years ago, was the fact that I never felt safe. Therefore, I was never in the present moment. I was always perceiving danger. I was always thinking about the future. I was always thinking about the past, consequences, this and this. And even as I'm explaining it, you can just see the fuckery of the mind. How you imagine all that stacking up in your mind compared to, I'm okay, this is the situation I'm in, and let's flow with it. It's so much nicer. So much more beautiful, man.
So what are the things that you used to tell yourself then? So when you're in the present moment and those thoughts of the past. So talk to me about that. Talk to me about how you've checked yourself in, you're in the present moment, and then an intrusive thought comes in. How did you manage to deal with that? How did you process it?
I processed it, through something called semantic experiencing, which is what I keep speaking about, is the body approach. So, in short, what will happen is you're in the present moment, you'll get an intrusive thought. What's going to happen then is you're going to tense up. Correct?
Yep.
So, what I would do takes 1 to 3 seconds. So you can see my neck there now. I'll just literally just relax, and then bang, I'll focus back on life. So say if I was talking to you, me and you were having a laugh, I get this horrible intrusive thought, bang, I'm tensing up. Relax the tension, and then just carry on speaking to you. And then eventually, those thoughts just stopped bothering me, because the more and more that I did that, the less charge was in those thoughts. Whereas before, every time I used to have those thoughts, I'd grip on for dear life, and I'd keep grabbing and grabbing, and it'd get
Yeah.
more and more. And then the next time I had the intrusive thought, I'd be like this, and then the whole
You'd be walking
idea,
like a cardboard.
yeah, the whole idea of semantic experiencing, which again, it's easy just to say the body approach is self-regulation, and that's just throughout your day, calming your body, like in any situation. It literally takes 3 seconds. You can just either take a big deep breath, or you can just drop your shoulders. And for me, mate, I'm telling you this because it was key for me, because with meditation and yoga, it's kind of like you have to leave the situation that you're in. Whereas with self-regulation, you can calm
Still
yourself.
Be present.
Yeah, you can be present. You can
Yeah.
calm yourself and activate that parasympathetic nervous system, which is responsible for feeling relaxed in any situation. So you could be in a social situation, a meeting, and then the first thing I'll do now, if I have an intrusive thought, is I'll check in with my body, and I'll always be tensing. So then I'll relax the body, and bang, focus back on life, and then after time of doing that, because I probably do that even now, mate, 100 to 200 times a day. I probably do it every 5 to 10 minutes, but
Yeah.
it's not a big deal when it takes like 3 seconds. It really isn't. So yeah, over time, the charge in those intrusive thoughts just completely went away. I know that there's obviously other approaches, and that's what I'm going to ask you about, because that's my way, and I want to know what your way is. Was it sort of just kept... I think ultimately, though, it's bringing yourself back to the present moment, isn't it? Whatever you do.
Yeah. For me,
Acceptance, maybe.
forgiving myself, forgiveness.
Yeah.
That was the hardest thing to do. Just to be able to say, it's okay. And I remember listening to this is when one of the first times it first properly hit me, and this is when I let go of a lot of my regrets.
Yeah.
As I've mentioned in a previous podcast, I used to listen to a lot of motivational videos.
Yeah.
And one of them starts with, "It's okay. It's okay." And it says it about 3 times. And I heard it. And after I heard it for the 3rd time, I just broke down. I just absolutely just broke down. And just hearing someone say, it's okay to feel the way that you're feeling, allowed me to say it to myself. And I think that, and every time now I feel any kind of regret, any kind of negative emotion, I replay that video. I must have replayed it 1,000 times.
Yeah.
Just in my own head. And I'll actually say it's okay. I'll just use them words, and it's a check-in with myself to say, you are feeling the way you are. It's okay to feel the way you are, and that's check-in with it. It's doing exactly what you're doing. It's just by using a word instead of...
Yeah, no, that's what I was going to say. Like, that is what you're doing. It's just another form of self-regulation. Everyone has to self-regulate. Jack's talking about it. I'm talking about it. If you're not doing it, get on it, because it's amazing stuff. Sorry, Jack. Carry on.
Everyone will find that one thing. So, did you get it from me when we were in Ibiza? Did you, like, did it really hit you when you saw me doing it a lot?
That's when it hit me. So the short story is, I found a course, and it's basically semantic experiencing. Dr. Peter Levine, the guy's name is, who came up with it. He's like a trauma expert. But anyway, I just brought the course, and I was going through the course, and I was probably like a quarter of the way through, so I'd heard a little bit about relaxing the muscles, and then we went for a meal when we were in Ibiza.
We were hunger. Let's just break it down.
We went for breakfast.
We went out the night before, and we probably got back at like 4 a.m.
Yeah.
And we were up at like 7. to go for breakfast, and it was
Oof.
just me and Lou, and we were sat down, and it wasn't pretty.
I was
go on.
I was perceiving threat, man, constantly, because back then, like I say, I was struggling so much, even when I was sober, that I think being hungover and the nervous system's under even more pressure, it's very, very difficult to ground yourself.
Yeah.
Whereas now, I suppose it goes into regret a little bit, because now, if I was in a situation, if I ever felt like that again, I'd ground myself.
Yeah.
I'd use. I remember actually, because that's another thing I haven't talked about, is grounding exercises, and I think you've done them, where you look around and you feel and you smell and you touch. And I remember going for that meal, and I was that panicked that instinctively, because we were right next to the sand, I went and stood on the sand and felt how warm the sand was on me, and it really helped to ground me. But anyway, yeah, you were when I looked at you, and like I say, I'd only done a quarter of this course. I keep going off track, but anyway, it's because I've got so much to talk about regarding this topic. But I saw you, and I looked at your shoulders, and I was like, "Fuck, this is what the course is talking about." And I was like, there must be a reason why Jack's neck and shoulders are this relaxed. And then I sort of had an epiphany. And I kept speaking to you about it
I
whole
remember.
holiday.
Yeah,
because I was there, trying to eat my food, and then I just looked at you, and you were just chilling, and I was like, I want to be like that. And then when we got back, that's when I was like, right, okay, this isn't just a coincidence that Jack's never even heard of this course, but he's doing it instinctively anyway because he feels relaxed. It's obvious that there's a correlation. So yeah, man, I think by me seeing you being body relaxed, I understood then, there's something behind this here, this is something to practice. Do you know what I mean? Because when you think about it, have you ever been relaxed in your life and been tense? And the answer's probably no. You're not relaxed, but tensing loads, are you? You're nice and limp, and it's that simple.
And it's what I find really funny is, so we're talking about how powerful this is, and how powerful being in a relaxed state where you just let your muscles. So if I'm in a relaxed state, usually I'll have my arms over some chairs or something.
Yeah.
I'll have my arms quite wide, and I'll probably be tilting to a side or something like that.
Yeah.
And if I'm at work, I've been told, I've been given feedback at work that I have too much of a relaxed state, and that it looks as if I don't care. And I laugh at it because I'm just like, if you understood the reasons that I do this and how powerful it is, you'd never say that it's unprofessional.
Yeah, it's the opposite of unprofessional. You're in that situation, you're not stressing, you're so calm, and like you say, you're using affirmations in your head this is all okay. Whereas the person next to you might be freaking out because of some work that they're not doing. Whereas if you're present, you're way more productive in work, aren't you? So much more productive because you're not stuck in your head, and you can easily access information. Whereas the more muscle tension that you have, the more you start to go into the fight or flight mode, and then the more irrational you become. And it's basically just a vicious cycle of going up and up and up. You have more muscle tension and you become more irrational, and it just goes up.
We're never taught this in schools, are we?
Ever. No. And I feel like even just the act of yoga will massively help people to understand the importance of relaxing your body. And you spoke about that in Ibiza as well. And I was like, right, okay, I'll give this yoga a go. And I was like, wow, this is some good, powerful stuff here. This is, for me, I felt like yoga was meditation and stretching in one. So I was kind of getting double my money basically for my time. And after whenever I did yoga, I felt so connected, and I'd never tried it before, but you just have this feeling of just being connected and it's just so amazing. Would you agree? Do you still like doing the practice?
I do, mate. I do.
Yeah.
I do completely. So, obviously, we've spoken a lot now about checking in the present moment, about how we both found it, about how we both do it, and why that's important. Looking back now, do you think that you have more regret on things that you have done and actions that you took, or do you think you have more regrets of what you didn't do and the actions that you wish you had took?
Many more regrets about the actions that I didn't do.
Yeah.
Because
I think this is a big topic. I think 99% of people listening would have the same opinion of you're more regretful of things that you didn't do than mistakes you've made.
Yeah, 100%. I think one of the easiest ways to describe it is, have you ever had an argument with someone and then after the argument, when you've calmed down and you're rational again, you thought, oh, I should have said this and I should have said that.
Yeah,
have you ever done that?
Yeah,
it's kind of the same thing, because when I look back to some of the stuff that I didn't do, like, for example, at one point in time I wanted to do PTing, and I didn't do it purely because I was scared that I wouldn't make it, you know what I mean? And I had this negative belief about myself that I wasn't really any good, and I couldn't really, people wouldn't listen to me for advice and all this kind of stuff. So, man, I think that kind of a mindset is just horrible.
I've just had an idea, and I need to say it because otherwise I'll forget.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Do you think that we're more regretful of the things that we haven't done because usually we still haven't done it and therefore we have never learnt from it? Whereas the things that we did do, that we made a mistake or a possible mistake, we have learnt from it and therefore we no longer regret it.
Yes, the first one.
Do you get what I mean?
Because with a mistake you learn. You learn, don't you?
And because you've never done it, part of you is still... I think most people who still have regrets of things that they haven't done have still not done it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They still... So that's why they still have them feelings.
Well, it's weird because Ronnie Coleman, probably the best bodybuilder of all time, said his only regret in bodybuilding, because he was really strong, was, I think he deadlifted, like, what was it, 790 pounds. I think it was something crazy like that. And he said, my biggest regret was not doing 800 pounds, because in his mind he knew he had it in him. Yeah. But now he's not in a position to ever be able to get close to doing that again. So I feel like if you've got the doubt that, well, could I have done it, couldn't I have done it, then yeah, you will. I think, mate, that statement stands true, like, massively.
I think if you have any question in your mind right now, if you're listening to this, and Lou, I'm going to say the same thing to you.
Yeah, man.
If you have absolutely any doubt in your mind that you wish you would have done something, and you still have an opportunity to do it, and there's still that chance, take the chance.
Yes.
Take the shot before you lose it, because that door is slowly closing. Mm-hmm. It's slowly closing. No one is getting out alive.
Yeah.
Okay. No one's getting out alive. That's not how it works.
Well, we look at what boxers say, and they say, "Oh, I wish I'd have fought this person and this person," and they're not able to do it no more because it's 20 years later, and that kind of regret, man, can really fuck with someone's mind, man.
If you've got the ability to do something that you feel that you have regret for, and you still have the regret because you haven't learnt from it. You haven't learnt from any mistakes because you've never taken the opportunity.
Yeah.
take the opportunity, because like we've just said, we regret more what we didn't do than what we have done. We've made some massive fuck-ups, or what some would perceive to be massive fuck-ups, but we see that as learning. We've learned from every single one, and that's because of the way that we process things. It's because of the way we check in. It's because of we've got the tools now to be able to process our fuck-ups. We've got the tools to be able to say, okay, that didn't work, and I'm okay with that. So why not take the shot? Why not?
And I feel like me and you are the perfect example for anyone listening that is thinking, yeah, I know what I've got an idea in my head of exactly what Jack's talking about, because we were talking about the podcast for a while before we did it, and if we still hadn't have done it now, we would have been filled with regret, because we would never have known.
Yeah.
Could we have done it? Could we have reached out to people that we've reached out to? Who would it have helped? So I say go for it. Yeah, just if you're scared of doing something, but you know deep down you want to do it, just go out and do it. Yeah.
Do you think a lot of people live their life scared of regret?
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's one of the reasons why, as people get older, they start to become more and more depressed with the way that the life's turned out. Bitter, depressed, whatever you want to call it, with the way that the life's turned out. Because I feel like when you're younger, most people have got a dream, and because they're not working and you're at school, you've got a load of time to focus on that dream, haven't you? And I feel like if they didn't go for it, then they're filled with regret. Whereas a lot of people, they did go for it, and it either worked out or it didn't, but at least they gave it their all. And I feel like it's one of those kind of situations, mate. Do you know what I mean?
Do you know what's funny? If you spent the amount of time that you spend wishing you'd done something, if you spent that time doing it,
you would have already been a master at it, probably. Yeah.
It's crazy to think about. And even though I'm saying it now to you, mate, I have in my mind things that I, to this day, wish or want to start. And
have you got anything that you could share with me, maybe? Any sports or situations, career moves?
There's loads, mate. There's a lot that I put down to. So a lot of my goals rely on other things happening first. And
yeah,
like
same.
For instance, like career goals, they rely on me passing exams, and I need to pass these exams before I can chase my career goals. And I need to put so much focus on exams that I'm not doing.
Yeah.
Or I'm not giving it what I would consider my 100%.
Yeah.
If you ask me, I'm going to be really honest now. I'm going to be brutally honest. If you ask me, have you given absolute 100%, and I'm talking 100%, 100% of Jack, did you give that to your study? No, of course not.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm not acing and getting 100% in every exam that I do.
But with that comes like a feeling of dissatisfaction, like, because you know that you could do more, but it's hard. It is hard, mate, to grab that inner resilience and to be able to have the energy to do more. Do you know what I mean? Or,
yeah.
Or sometimes maybe that might even just be self-doubt, because maybe you are trying your hardest for what your energy levels are capable of, but you always feel like you can do more. Like, you always hear about these sports, like, just these people, like sports players, like you see Usain Bolt saying, I could have ran a bit faster, and it's like, to us, it just seems ludicrous to make such a statement, but I suppose that's good to have, because you're always chasing something more. Do you know what I mean? And that's how you grow, keep yourself motivated, all that kind of stuff.
It's funny because Matthew McConaughey says, when he's asked who his hero is, he says, it's me in 10 years.
Yeah.
And then 10 years later, he was asked the question, "Oh well, are you a hero now?" And he said, "Oh God, I'm not even close." He said, "My hero's me in 10 more years."
Yeah.
And every time I think that's so inspiring, that answer. But you can, I do also see where you're coming from, man. Where you say you're always caught in a race with yourself. You never get to
Appreciate.
Yeah.
Yeah, like with me when I was, I was absolutely shredded one point in my life, and I was constantly thinking I could be lean, whereas looking back, I should have just been like, you know what, I look good, and enjoy it. But
Yeah.
we're always thinking, what can I do next? What can I do next? So it's okay to appreciate what you've got, for sure. Don't forget to live in the moment. So you've got to have a fine balance of being in the present moment, but also you want to work on these goals. But you've got to, like, I think you said it before, you've got to appreciate the small victories as well and just celebrate them, man.
Do you know what's funny? What's funny is we've spoken about past regrets.
Yeah.
And we've spoken about future regrets.
Mm.
And for both of them, the key thing is to check in.
Yeah.
And it's to be in the present moment. Like, but for both situations, whether it's future, whether it's past,
Yeah.
like both situations, it's about making sure you don't get carried away with it and check in.
Oh, yeah.
Check in with yourself. Be in the moment. Be present. Because even talking on this podcast, mate, I've been doing it.
Yeah,
I've
same,
been having
man.
to.
Same. Because I think you get certain emotions that flare up throughout the day. It could happen 100 times a day. Especially, I feel like, especially when you're doing a podcast like me and you, and we're talking about difficult issues.
Yeah.
You might get that. You might say something and you might get that little bit of tension. Do you know what I mean? And then you just relax it again. And again, it goes back to our out-of-date nervous systems. We still think that we're in the African savannah desert, being chased by tigers and all the rest of it. So we're always, what's the word, on edge. Whereas in the present moment, this day and age, 99.9% of the time you're in a safe situation.
Yeah.
The only time I'd say that it would be appropriate to be constantly tensing your muscles and worrying about stuff is if you were in the zoo. If you'd fall into like the tiger pit, then yeah, your muscle tension should be sound because you need to use that to run away. But if you're just, if you're sitting there, yeah. Carol fucking Baskin. But if you're sitting there, in your bedroom, thinking, oh, I should have done this, I should have done that, you're getting down, you're getting loads of muscle tension, you're panicking, you're overthinking. No. Look around, ground yourself, relax, and just, like you say, do what Jack says. After you relax your body, it's okay. And you realise, yeah, it is okay. I've not got, there's no tiger next to me waiting to bite me. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, like there's always risks with life. Like I could be speaking now and the roof could fall on my head, but it'd just be. Fuck! I hope that doesn't happen. No. Here we go. The mind is trying to prepare me now. But the point is just because it's a possibility, it doesn't mean that it's a probability.
I like it.
Yeah, that was what I was trying to get at. So I'm looking up now like this. So I'm back in a minute. Yeah, man.
With that, before the roof caves in on Lou, I think it's time.
Yeah,
I think it's time to end the podcast. So let's summarize it. Let's end it with make sure that you are present and that throughout the day you learn what makes you present and what strategies you can use. So Lou's talked about how he relaxes his shoulders. You can some people, if you're sitting in your kitchen, some people grab an ice cube and literally just feel how cold it is, and that just shakes them into oh wow, I'm present now.
That's another amazing one, yeah. I love that. I used to do that one. So good for grounding. So good.
And once you've done that, say it's okay.
Yeah.
Probably repeat it about 3 or 4 times. And once you've done that, you'll realise, oh my God, I can see. It's almost like you can see colours again. And you can hear sounds again. So please practice this. Please try it. Just do it a few times. Every time you feel like you're getting carried away with a thought, with a regret, with a feeling of, oh, I wish I've done this, I wish I could do this, try grounding yourself.
Yeah, because remember, each and every time that you do that, you're signaling to your brain, body, and nervous system that you're safe, and you're going to get this feeling of relaxation over you. And like Jack says, you're just going to feel and see colours again, and just see more clearly, because you're going to be just in this state of just pure peace and relaxation. So do it. Just keep trying and keep giving it a go. And if you suck at it in the beginning, just keep trying. Because you're not going to get it you're not going to do it once and then you're like, yeah, that's fine now. No. You got to keep practicing and keep trying.
And with that, please share this one with a friend. Share this with someone who share this with someone who gets angry when they're drunk. Share this with someone who's scared about the roof falling in.
Yeah.
And with that, check up on your strong friend.